today you can see we're going to be doing our gel lacquer process. I've already done the basic manicure, and I'm just going to swipe over the top of the nail with a basic cleanser. Once that's dried, we're going to come in with our base coat just like with any other shellac surface. You're going to do a base coat over the entire nail, making sure not to touch the cuticle or the side walls, but you want to pull it as far to the outside as possible. Of course, once you finish your base coat, you're going to cure as normal. Base coat takes anywhere between 5 and 30 seconds depending on the brand that you're going to use. Alright. Next we're going to use our base color. Depending on the design you choose, you may decide to use a different color other than white. We are using white today as I wanted to do a portrait to be able to show you as much detail and color as possible. With the color itself, you're going to make sure to go as close to the outside edge as possible. Of course, do not touch the skin, but you also want to make sure you leave a tiny, tiny river of the base coat exposed. So once we finish, we can actually cap all the way around every edge of the nail. Of course, once we finish our color here, we're going to cure this for 50 seconds like your normal color gel. Alright, first coat of color is finished. We're going to come in with our second coat of color now, making sure both coats are very thin. As you can see, there's just a slight river all the way around the outside edge there. And then we're going to finish this step with the cure. Now the next step that we're going to do here in the process is what makes this a little bit different than your typical gel lacquer application. We're going to actually do a base coat over our color. No matter what color you use, you're going to use a base coat over it. The inhibition layer of the base coat is less slippery than your color. In turn, it's going to make it so the photo base that we're going to apply to make the image stick, it will allow that photo base to properly adhere to the gel itself. So once this finishes curing, we're going to go ahead and apply our base gel. As I mentioned, we're going to apply that base gel now. It's the same base gel that I used underneath the color, and I'm going to make sure to go around the outside edge of the color itself, making sure to keep this product as thin as possible. Of course, once we finish the base gel, we are going to cure this layer also. Alright, and of course the most important part of this process is going to be our number 2. This is what's going to make the image stick to the nail. This is going to go on directly over our base coat. You want to use a fairly thick amount of this product. It's going to start out milky, and when you're finished, it's going to dry completely clear. You're only going to go to the edge of the color. Try not to go over the edge of the color into that river, because we want to make sure we cap the edge. We're going to make sure not to cap the edge of the free edge with our number 2, as we want the top coat and base coat we're going to apply over our image to fully encapsulate the nail. You want that river and free edge fully exposed of the number 2, so you make sure you have a complete seal with your product. After you've applied your number 2, you're going to use warm air for about 60 seconds. Alright, the next step before we print, we are going to use one of the finger protectors here. Soft, flexible plastic that is going to be applied just like you would a nail form for sculpting. You're going to bring it right up to the edge of your color without actually touching the product. Hold from both sides. As I mentioned, it's flexible, so it's very easy to comfortably pull down the sidewall. Wrap around the tip. Same thing on the opposite side here. The main reason we really like using these is because it's going to keep the non-toxic ink from getting on the skin. It's just one less step that you have to do later in your cleanup process. Just like that. Now we're actually going to hop over to the machine and we're ready for our print. As you can see here, we have completed our print. We did a Marilyn Monroe. I've already taken off the finger protector. As you can see, no ink on the outside edge. With a full color image like this, it's going to take a few seconds to dry, up to 60 seconds. The warm air is definitely going to help it. So I'm going to shoot it with the blow dryer real quick. Alright, and before we cap our product here, we're going to make sure we clean around the entire nail. I like to use these cosmetic Q-tips because it has a nice sharp point on it. Makes it very easy to get in the sidewall, back around the cuticle, making sure not to have too much moisture on it. Going to come back down this other sidewall as well. Now the reason this is important, as I kind of mentioned earlier, is because we want to make sure there is no photo base or that number 2 down around the outside edge. We want to be able to completely cap the nail. Should you feel like you have gotten any of that number 2 on the free edge, you can take a very soft file, about a 180, and lightly run it along the edge, making sure to go underneath as well so you can remove any photo base there might be there. If there's any dust on it, you can see you can just lightly remove it. And now we're ready for our final steps. Prior to doing your top coat, we're actually going to do one more coat of base coat. So this is going to make 3 coats of base coat throughout the process. Reason being, we really want to create a solid foundation for our top coat. Notice how I'm getting down in that sidewall. Making sure to use light pressure as to not remove the image. Going to cap that free edge. And cure. Now we can finish with our top coat. With a thinner top coat like this one here, you're going to want to do 2 top coats. Should you use a thicker gel top coat or even a building gel, you can probably get away with 1. I always do 2 just to be safe, especially with that LED. Only takes a few seconds to cure. Well worth the extra few seconds to make sure you really get several weeks out of your print here. Alright, we've completed the second top coat. Just have our alcohol wipe here to remove that sticky inhibition layer. As I'm wiping over the nail, notice how none of the color is coming off from around the outside edge. I'm using quite a bit of pressure. Notice there's no ink on the pad as well. You're all finished, and that's going to be our image.